My name is Mr Semra and I'm a primary school teacher in South London. The 10 things you should know about teaching. Number 1, it's a vocation, not a job. Many people feel that the teaching is a very easy job in comparison to other industries. 6 weeks holiday, half terms, Christmas off. Actually, teachers do a lot more work in those holidays than most other industries. So always remember that it's not a job, it's not a 9 to 5 where you can switch off. Your mind is always racing, your mind is always thinking, what more can I do for the children that I teach? The children that I want to make a difference to. Remember, it's a vocation, not a job. The second thing you should know is that the job never ends. And I say this not as a negative aspect or criticism, but there will always be something to do. Remember, we're dealing with kids here. Kids whose lives will be shaped positively by the impact that you make. So there's always be something to do. It's very difficult to perfect things in life, and the teaching industry is one of them. So whilst you might have finished your marking, there might be some resources that you need to get prepared for the following day. And if you finish the resources, there could be an assessment. You're dealing with human beings, very young human beings with primitive minds who are going to be influenced and impacted by the things that you do and say. So it's always important to remember that there is always a next step in their learning. The third thing you should remember about teaching is that the kids, there will always be kids. Sometimes in life we can take things personally by the actions of what others do to us. But we're dealing with children who are still learning about themselves, still learning about the world around them. And it's always important, always imperative to remain as professional and as considerate as possible. They don't mean any harm. They don't mean to be insulting. They don't mean to stress us out. They're children after all. And the more you remain professional, the more you remain a model citizen, the more encouragement they will see and take on board. The fourth thing that you should remember about teaching is that support is everywhere. Don't think that you will need or you need to know everything there is about how to teach English, or how to create the best music lesson, or how to learn to paint like Michelangelo. There'll always be support around. Seek help. As Jesus said, seek and you shall find. Always look for support if you're struggling. Your next door neighbour, your class next door teacher, your partner teacher, deputy head, everybody will go through their struggles. Everyone will have their strengths and everyone will go through their struggles. So you are not alone. Always seek support. The fifth thing you should know about teaching, it's an industry you can't perfect. Even those with 20 to 30 years of teaching experience are always learning on the job. There's always something new. The curriculum may change. The children may change. Ways of teaching evolves and changes. Pedagogies, methodology, strategies, equipment, everything changes over time. So when you're starting out, always have the mindset that you can't perfect this job. And perfection, I guess, lies in the imperfection. The ability to be reflective in your own approach, the ability to look back, sit back and say, do you know what? That lesson perhaps didn't go well, but I now know how not to teach it. Or that lesson really went great. How can I make it better, or how can I adapt it the next time? Learning is fun. So let's make it fun for the kids. Perfection lies in the imperfection. And these are some of the other things to consider when you get into teaching. The smallest things are always the biggest things. When I say that, I mean when you're setting up your new classroom, one of the smallest things that you can forget is whilst you set up their tables and pencil pots and the whiteboard and your computer and all your planning, outside in the cloakroom, classroom labels, cloak labels. The small things that don't matter actually do matter to these children. They want to be welcomed into their classroom. They want to feel that they have a second home. So these small perks make the biggest difference. You can't use the toilet every time you'd like. And whilst we say to the kids, no, you're not allowed to go to the toilet, must wait till break time, we also have to remember that the life that we live normally as adults completely spins and changes the other way now as a teacher. There are certain things, and even as light-hearted as not going to the toilet when you like to, these things you have to keep in mind. The way that you look after children in your own family home or for family relatives is very different to the way that you look after children that you teach. As an example, it's good practice to always send 2 children to the toilet, even if only one of them needs to go. This practice may not be upheld in your own family dynamic. Let's say you go to a trip to the museum. You may just send, as a family relative, you may just send the child to the toilet. However, when you're in charge of 20 to 30 children who are not of your own and are not related to you, and you have a duty of care, you must always think outside the box. You must always consider all different aspects of their safety and obviously, of course, their learning. So when you step into the world of a teacher, your mind opens up a lot more to just the academics. You need to be able to have that duty of care for them holistically. Teaching is not a job, it's a vocation. It's a vocation where you decide to change and make the positive impact into the lives of the next generation. This can be quite demanding. Unlike other jobs, this industry is a place where your mind is always thinking of the next thing to do. Your mind is always thinking about what next to improve their education. You almost, in a sense, they become your children. And this can be very tiring. So it's always important to have that work-life balance. Have opportunities where you can switch off from the job that you do. I say job, from the vocation that you do. Go to the gym, exercise, play football with your mates, go out with the girls, go to the cinema, unwind. Whatever it is that you do that allows you to switch off from the world that you are so heavily in, make sure that you do that. Teaching these young children, shaping their minds, is not an easy thing. As a friend once told me, it takes 150% of effort to move 1 millimeter. So when you get into this industry, please do not expect that it will be plain sailing. You'll be met with challenges, issues, difficulties, not just from the children, but even through your own expertise. There are many obstacles and challenges that you will need to overcome in order to enable these children, these young children, to make the very progress that they need to become active citizens in the world, this ever-changing world. It's like an avalanche. You place a snowball at the top of a mountain. It takes quite a while before it ends up becoming a big snowball. But as soon as the ball gets rolling, you start to see the positive effects very soon. Always keep consistent. Being a teacher is a very, very difficult job. It takes a lot of hard work and perseverance. And so does shaping the minds of these young children. As a friend once told me, it takes 150% of effort to move 1 millimeter. But if you consistently put that effort in, that 1 millimeter will become 10 centimeters, to become 100 centimeters. And that progression that you want in those kids will soon come. It all comes down to being consistent and being determined. My name is Mr Semra, and I'm a primary school teacher. You can find me on all the socials. On Facebook at Mr Semra. I'm a primary school teacher, a private tutor, and an educational blogger. My name is Mr Semra, and this is Eritrean Society. Inspire and motivate.
Yo, I don't need a coach. I don't need advice.